Hey guys, Scarlett here. I hope you all are doing well this week, and we have the autumn equinox just a few days away. This year it's going to be on Monday, the 23rd of September. So I thought it'd be fun to do another video in my autumn equinox series. I've done several other videos about the upcoming equinox, and I will link those down below if you're looking for a bit more of the history surrounding this holiday, or if you're looking for some fun ideas on how you can celebrate. So today I want to talk about Dionysus, which is why I have a little glass of wine here while we're chatting. And that's because Dionysus is the god of wine, among many other things. And at this time of year, we have the grape harvest. So for fellow pagans or Wiccans out there, you always want to be thinking about what is going on from an agricultural perspective when you are looking at the Sabbats or the traditional holidays on the wheel of the year. So with the autumn equinox and this being the time of the grape harvest, it makes sense to consider Dionysus at this time of year, or to potentially incorporate Dionysus into any autumn equinox rituals that you might be doing. So cheers to Dionysus. And Dionysus is a really fun deity. Like the majority of Greek deities, he did kind of move eventually into the Roman pantheon, and in this case went under the name of Bacchus. But starting with Dionysus from the Greeks, he has a really interesting story and kind of an unusual beginning where he was born twice. So it's a little bit weird, but he was believed to originally have been born from Zeus and Persephone, and then himself in that way represented kind of a dark or chthonic underworld aspect of Zeus. But then he was killed and then reborn again as the son of Zeus, but this time with his mother being the mortal princess of Thebes. I believe it's Semele. I might be pronouncing that wrong. So this time he is being born of Zeus and a mortal princess. So Dionysus is a pretty old deity according to the lore. There are records of Dionysian worship coming from the Mycenaean Greeks dating all the way to around 1300 BCE, which is pretty exciting. So of course we know Dionysus for wine. He is traditionally the deity associated with the whole wine making process, which was of course hugely important to ancient Greece and later to ancient Rome as well. He's also the god of fertility and things like ritual madness and religious ecstasy and theater too. So he has a lot of interesting connections. Due to his kind of agricultural influence, traditionally a lot of prayers were given during the time of the harvest to Dionysus. And in addition to the grapevines, he was also kind of the patron god of any orchards or fruit-bearing trees as well. So it kind of makes sense too, considering this is also the time of the apple harvest. Though I would say the Romans had a specific goddess associated with the apple harvest known as Pomona. So Dionysus and Pomona would be a great pair of deities to incorporate into any autumn equinox celebrations. So even though Dionysus is greatly associated with wine and kind of insane revelry to a certain extent, he's also tied to a lot of other qualities as well. He was an innovator. It is said that he came up with the concept of yoking an ox in order to make the farming process easier for people. He was considered to be kind of a god of the common folk. In a way, from Norse mythology, you have Thor, who is the god of the common folk. Here we have Dionysus really being one of the main gods for the farmers and the agricultural society. So in general, he was also associated with kind of the more wild places, so the woodlands and the forests. And often he was even kind of associated with Pan being his kind of sidekick that would appear in a lot of artwork later showing Dionysus in the woods with Pan. And they're built up this entire kind of religion around Dionysus too. And they do call it the cult of Dionysus, though when we're looking from a historical perspective, the word cult is a lot different than how in modern times we view the word cult. In this way, this just means a group of individuals worshiping Dionysus, and in general, there was a lot of secrecy around this group of people who did worship Dionysus. Another big thing connected to Dionysus is performance art and drama, which were very central to the specific Dionysian cult. And the festivals dedicated to Dionysus were really kind of a big driving force behind the creation and the development of theater. So we have Dionysus to thank for that as well. So a central component to the cult of Dionysus were known as the Dionysian mysteries, or the Bacchic mysteries if you're looking from the Roman perspective. And we really don't know the full origin of these Dionysian kind of mysteries and this mysterious cult, though they did say in the mythology that Orpheus was the one that did invent what are called the mysteries of Dionysus. So these mysteries really served an important role in creating a lot of ritual traditions and customs for the transitions in people's lives. And it started out being more associated with for men and male sexuality, but then it kind of later became a space for women, and women kind of embracing transitions in their own lives or transitions of the roles that they were going through. And this symbolically was symbolized with a meeting of the gods that ruled over death, such as Hades and Persephone. So when you look at a lot of the ancient secrets of the Dionysian or Bacchic cult, a lot of times you're also seeing imagery to Hades or Persephone, really symbolizing that this deity for this community represented kind of this deep transitional time, and death being a great metaphor for transition. So there is a lot of mystery around it, and I'm not going to go too much into the detail around the Dionysian mystery cults, though I would recommend looking into it more if you are interested. It's super weird, it's super fascinating. Often these secret religious rites involved rituals where you would sacrifice a goat or bulls. And also the participants would wear these like wooden masks that were associated with the god, which makes a lot of sense when you consider that Dionysus being a big part about the invention of theater and performance, that wooden masks or mask wearing of some kind would be a big part of his festivals and his celebrations. So in Rome, the well-known festivals of Bacchus, because at that time Dionysus became Bacchus, they were called the Bacchanalia, and they were based on these earlier Greek Dionysian festivals. And these Bacchic festivals were kind of insane. They were said to include like extreme practices such as pulling apart live animals and eating them raw, which kind of represented a reenactment of the infant death and rebirth of Bacchus. And it was also kind of a means for the deity to physically kind of enter their own bodies through that kind of ritual sacrifice and eating of the animal. So a little crazy. I would not recommend doing that for your celebrations of Dionysus and Bacchus, but it is an interesting part of the story. So these kind of crazy Bacchic rites were considered to be a novelty in Rome, and pretty much at that time were restricted to just women and were held about 3 times a year. So the tradition of Dionysus, going all the way back to around 1300 BCE through Greek culture and then eventually into Roman times, has had a lot of transitions and associations that have, changed a lot. But in general, I find that Dionysus is a great deity to be thinking about or working with this time of year, predominantly for his association with winemaking and the grape harvest, because one of the most important things in my view with paganism or with Wicca is getting connected to the agricultural cycle of the year. So again, cheers to Bacchus, cheers to Dionysus. I hope you enjoyed this short video about this particular god. Let me know if you liked it, and maybe I will do more videos about different deities in the future. So, talk to you later. Bye.